Mahlabi, who's been covering that case. Mahaketla, just tell us what the latest is.
Yeah, Nompu, I can tell you that breaking news, of course. He has been released on bail, 2,000 rand bail, and we understand that the matter has now been postponed to the 21st of October for further investigations. The state failing to prove beyond exceptional circumstances to actually keep him behind bars in the meantime. But we are now joined by Advocate Mdladla, who is representing Mr. Mchunu. Advocate, thanks so much for your time. I remember in court you produced 2 videos. The state produced 4. Just talk to us about the significance of those 2 videos that you produced.
The significance of both those videos was to show that he was never in any way involved in inciting or encouraging anyone to commit violence or whatever in terms of Section 18.2 of the Righteous Assemblies Act. Yes.
And also the state on the other side saying that he lied to the court, saying that he was unemployed, only to find that he was employed.
Well, I'm not sure why they said that, because in their own affidavit there was a concession in the affidavit that he was part-time freelancer, yet he's online, so not fully employed. But it turned out that the truth is he is part-time employed.
I remember last week in his first court appearance, you actually mentioned that there was no need for the state to actually keep him in the holding cells up until today. Did you feel somehow that it was not at all necessary amid these investigations?
It's difficult to say. We thought, because what they said to us is that they were looking at adding further charges. At that time when we appeared, there was only 1 charge. So they said they were going to add 2 more charges and possibly get a certificate from the head office, which meant that it could be Schedule 5 or 6. So that being the case, I think the court will always give them that opportunity to produce that evidence.
All right. Thanks so much for your time. We're going to get reaction from the family spokesperson as well, Bonginkosi Kanyile. Just your first reaction to this judgment, please.
No, thank you very much. What I can confirm is that, remember, we told the state that this was a Schedule 1 offense. And under normal circumstances, when it is Schedule 1 offense, bail becomes automatic. And indeed, the onus remains on the state to ensure that they prove why the accused must remain in custody. The state today could not prove that. And we have said it initially that this was not a criminal case. This was a political case. I can tell you, my brother, inside the courts, our lawyers were dancing naked. Inside the courts, our lawyers were mopping the floor. They were on top of the table. The whole NPA was traumatized. The whole prosecution was paralyzed, legally speaking. And we were in charge. And the truth was on our side. The facts were on our side. Legally speaking, we are in charge as we speak.
Thanks so much for your time. That is Bonginkosi Kanyile, who is the family spokesperson here at the Randburg Magistrate's Court. Later we'll actually grab the NPA spokesperson, Pindi Mjonondwane, who is currently doing an interview with a different media house. But just to wrap up on the conditions, Nombu, he is then not allowed to convene any public gatherings, not also allowed to address public gatherings. He's also not allowed to post any comments on social media, as long as those comments would probably incite propaganda for, sorry, we are, as you can see, we are live. As you can see, Mchunu, he's actually looking up on air, and he's now, at least Mchunu, just talk to you guys. This is SABC News. How do you feel? This is SABC News.
I feel very jubilant. Kakhulu ngijabule nje kakhulu ukuthi umthetho welelizwe uyasebenza and umthetho ukhona ubaluleke kakhulu ukuthi siuhloniphe nje kakhulu. So ke into ebalulekile ngizoyisho njengamanje ukuthi ayikho into ebaluleke njengokuthi mase ngagcina umthetho sonke kusukela phezulu kubantu abasiphethe ukuthi kuthina kuzuthina kule underground we can live in peace and all be in harmony.
And then the state obviously also zooming on your word, Aikale. Can you perhaps clarify on that, Aikale?
Lalela baba ziyakhala namanje I cannot clarify to you. Sizoqhubeka sikhale into engizoyisho ukuthi njengoba ngiphuma njengamanje ngifuna ukubonga bonke abantu abangisekile beseka izwe lonke laseNingizimu Afrika ukuthi akube nejustice. We were fighting for justice and we got arrested by the people abaphula umthetho. Umthetho wakubona ukuthi khaba kwethu asifanele ukuthi amaqala sibeke wona sibe satshela. Into abalekile njengamanje ke ngithi ke mina into yokuqala ngizoyisho nje ngoba ngiphuma la ngikhumbula amazwi ekensizwa yokuqala yaphathelele ilizwe lenkululeko yaseNingizimu Afrika udokotela uHolihlahla Mandela eyovukuza amathambo kamongameli oqala.
Yeah. So
eyovukuza amathambo kamongameli. Yeah. Ayovukela amathambo oqala ethi ke I'm standing here njengamanje kumongameli ukuthi ke today South Africa is free. Ngithi ke mina njengamanje baleke sazi ukuthi 27 years later namanje the freedom fighter is in jail.
Yeah. All right. He is now reminded of the bail conditions that he is facing. Nombu, as he's now whisked away from the media here, and as you can see down there, many of his supporters being blocked from getting into the premises of the Randburg Magistrates Court, and as you can see, many of some of his supporters and families surrounding him at the gate as he gets out of the Randburg Magistrates Court for the first time after a week. Remember, he actually surrendered himself at the police's headquarters in KZN in Durban on Monday. And according to the state, they feel that he did that immediately after learning that there was a warrant of arrest issued by this specific court, the Randburg Magistrates Court. But again, the state saying that he did that simply because he wanted to weaken the state's case. But it looks like he won. He is now out on a 2,000 rand bail, and NPA spokesperson Pindi Mjonondwana is here. It looks like you have failed to prove beyond exceptional circumstances to keep him in.
Well, we have noted the comments of the court. The comments of the court helps the NPA to improve in the work that it's doing. Prosecutors are able to study the judgments, then reflect and are able to then correct what has happened in previous proceedings. So indeed, yes, the onus was on the state since it was a Schedule 1 bail hearing. The onus was on the state to prove that the interest of justice does not permit the release of the accused on bail. Now that the court has permitted his release on bail, we accept that as the NPA.
But then, is this not what you were supposed to have done in the first place? I mean, this is a huge case. It's a massive case, so to say, because the magistrate seemed to also lambast the prosecutor to say it looked like you didn't do your job.
No, well, we cannot falter the prosecutor. Remember that each and every prosecutor will have their own strategy in terms of how they prepare for the case. So in this instance, the prosecutor then decided to present the affidavit of the investigating officer as well as 4 videos to support the allegation that he is a flight risk. So when the court has decided otherwise, it simply means that justice has been done in terms of this bail application. But remember that we are not yet at the trial stage. More evidence is still going to be presented at the trial stage. What was presented was in support of us opposing bail.
And because cameras were not allowed in court, says Pindi, I'm just going to quote what Magistrate Gail Pretoria said when she actually made this judgment, delivered this judgment, she said that the court is not up to speed as to what the state's case is. What exactly is the state's case here?
Now remember that the accused is brought before court on 3 charges, 1 of incitement to commit violence and 2 of contravention of the Disaster Management Act. And as you go further with the comments of the magistrate, she indicated that she feels that the state has a case in terms of the contravention of the Disaster Management Act, since the videos itself shows the movement of the accused from Durban, where he lands in Gauteng, when we were still under level 4 lockdown, and therefore she's satisfied with that part. But she was, however, satisfied that the state has a strong case in terms of the charge of incitement to commit public violence. Now, as a state, as I've said earlier on, that each and every prosecutor has their own strategy in proving their own case, the state case before court. So the prosecutor has decided to not present all the evidence that he has, because mindful of the fact that it's not yet the trial stage, much information will be needed to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt during the trial stage, because currently, remember that we dealt with proceedings that are dealt with on a balance of probabilities. So we are yet to then enter into the stage where we need to prove our case beyond reasonable doubt. So that is the stage where the main focus is. Most of our energies focuses on that, and once the investigations are concluded, as the state will be ready for trial, so that we can then present all that evidence. So, yeah.
And this was your chance to actually prove this case beyond reasonable doubt. And I'm actually quoting her words, the magistrate, saying that the charge of incitement to commit public violence was not proven enough. Those 4 videos that we saw being played yesterday by the state did not have that aspect.
No, let us not confuse things. As I say, these are bail proceedings. So these bail proceedings, they then, the burden of proof is up to is on a balance of probabilities. Then on the trial stage, the burden of proof is beyond any reasonable doubt. So here we were still dealing on a lighter proceedings, which is dealt with on a balance of probabilities. So we have not yet reached the trial stage where the state must prove its case beyond reasonable doubt.
Thanks so much, Pindi Mchunu, NPA spokesperson there, saying that many of these aspects are going to be dealt with when the trial starts. But at this stage, we know that this matter has been postponed to the 21st of October for further investigations. The state has already mentioned that there will be more charges likely to be added on this case. So he is out on a 2,000 rand bail. Of course, conditions being that he should not address any public gathering, and he should not hold any public gathering. So those are some of the conditions that were put to him in court today.
Thank you very much, Makaketla, for that report and for getting to speak to the man as he came out. We are